directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Barry G. Fowler, EA, brings you Tax Talk for You right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. As an enrolled agent and a national leader in tax resolution, as well as trucker bookkeeping and tax planning with over 30 years of experience, Barry will break down taxes, bookkeeping, tax planning, and tax relief for individuals and businesses just like you. So let's have some Tax Talk for You with your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome and good morning, man. It's great to be here and another great day. And today we're talking about, trucking and taxes. Trucker Tax Tools started from a need that came out with truckers having major tax problems with the IRS, debts that were owed that they couldn't pay, and they needed to find a way out of it. And Taxation Solutions was satisfying that need and getting truckers out of tax problems. And from there, we had a bunch of truckers asking us, you do our bookkeeping? Can you do our taxes? You caught us up. Now, can you just keep us current and, keep us up to date in our taxes? And we went, yeah, absolutely. We have been a long-time supporter of Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, OOIDA. And with OOIDA, they have a wonderful foundation that does a lot of work to help truckers out, and especially helping new truckers, owner-operators that are looking to get out on their own. They have some great educational videos in the foundation. We've done a couple with them as well. And then every year, they have been doing a seminar called Truck to Success, which is a great seminar. It's put on in usually October. This year, it'll be October 18th through the 23rd. And it's going to be right there in Blue Springs, Missouri, just down the street from OOIDA's headquarters. And as usual, I will be there speaking about trucker taxes, trucker bookkeeping, business entity, lease purchase, all these wonderful things that every trucker should know about. And in today's show, we're going to be talking right to the truckers and helping them to, save money on taxes. And that is extremely important because that is a definite way of keeping more money in your pocket and giving less to the government. And that is savings. Hey, now one of the good things is we write for Landline Magazine. I have some great articles. Two of them that I really, really liked was July of 24 in the Trucking and Taxes in Landline Magazine, How to Retire as an Owner-Operator. Amazing. When I talk to a lot of owner-operators, they say retire. I'm retiring right here in this truck. I'm not ever getting out of it because I don't have the ability to. We start working with our clients to help them build a foundation to be able to retire and not have to drive that truck forever. I know a lot of them want to, but a lot of them also want to get out of the truck at some point and be able to relax and enjoy it with their spouse, significant other. The other one in Trucking and Taxes was written in August-September issue of Landline Magazine. What is an S Corp? See, we get a lot of people that have come to us and maybe they've thought they set up an S Corp and they didn't know what the advantages of doing an S Corp. Nobody's ever really talked to them and explained to them the differences between a single member LLC, multi-member LLC, S Corp, or even an Inc. I mean, you go and you set up your company, Dale's Trucking Inc., and you didn't finish the setup and you're not an S Corp, but you're actually a C Corp, and now you're paying double taxation. There's a lot of things that do happen out here, and some of this stuff is what we educate at Truck to Success. And again, if you're a W-2 driver, or maybe you've been an owner operator and you want to learn more and be more educated to get your own authority. Truck to Success, not just am I there, but we have a lot of people from OOIDA that come out and talk about everything that you need as an owner operator going out and running your own truck. And, those are the kind of things that you need when you're moving from W-2, or maybe wanting to grow and have multiple trucks. What are the medical requirements, DOT, all these fun things. And, OIDA's foundation is there and would be able to help you and guide you along the way. Now, when I talk, about the taxes and the tax code, along with all the other stuff that they asked me to come in and talk about. But one of the things, when we talk about tax code, we go way back to the beginning. And, back to like 1913. And that federal tax code was about, let's say, 400 pages at the most. So in the first 26 years of the tax code, it went from the 400 pages to 504 pages. Now, that was probably a lot back in the day. Can you imagine typing that out on a typewriter and then having to copy it and produce it so people would understand what the tax code was? Now, just imagine what it is today. It's 187 times longer than it was just a century ago. We're currently, and this is probably more than 74,000 pages currently. Could you imagine trying to understand that tax code? That's what you have us for at truckertaxtools.com, is to be able to understand it and find you every deduction that is possible and allowed by law for you to save money on taxes. So you don't need to know all that. Matter of fact, what you do need to know is, how long is it going to take you to read the tax code? Didn't say understand it, read it. Roughly 14 weeks. And that's probably speed reading, because I know you're going to fall asleep many, many times. So maybe double that or triple that. If you can't go to sleep at night, pick up the tax code and start reading it. Have fun. You'll probably be able to get a lot of sleep reading the tax code. Now, do you know what is the biggest mistake you can make for taxes? I do. Failing to plan. That's the biggest mistake, not planning. One of my favorite quotes that we talk about at the Truck to Success seminar is, there is nothing wrong with a strategy to avoid the payment of taxes. The Internal Revenue Code doesn't prevent that. That quote is from the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, William Rehnquist. So take his words to heart. Plan. Matter of fact, when I look at the tax code is our planning guide to avoid as much in taxes as possible. And a plan becomes your key to your financial defense. It guarantees results to your bottom line. Because one of the things we always look at is, how do you improve the bottom line? And if taxes, such as your federal and state income taxes, your self-employment taxes, are going to amount to an ungodly percentage, just self-employment taxes, 15.3%, right off the top. And then you add your federal and state income taxes on top of that. Now, can you just imagine you're in a 22% tax bracket? You've already paid 15.3% as well. That's 37%. Then add your state income tax, whatever state you happen to be in. If you happen to be in the great state of Texas or Florida and the others that don't have an income tax, hey, you don't have to add that to it. But if you're out in California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, you're going to put Michigan, you're going to end up paying additional tax on top of that. Now that affects your bottom line. Costs you money if you're not planning and don't have a plan on how to save money on taxes. I mean, you think about it. So you netted $100,000 and you've got to pay out 37% of that. That's $37,000. You're left with 63. But if you can plan and you can reduce what you're going to get taxed on, then you've put money in your pocket instead of Uncle Sam's pocket or your state's pocket. That's what you're always looking to do, is a plan to reduce the taxes you're going to pay, whether it be through your entity, whether it be through other strategies that we'll talk about, whether it be through bookkeeping and making sure you've got all the deductions. And we're going to talk more about the bookkeeping and deductions right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for you. If you owe the IRS or are going through an IRS audit, don't go at it alone. Call Taxation Solutions Tax Relief at 888-930-1016. We are your solution for IRS debts, audits, back taxes, garnishments, liens, and levies. Whether you're an individual or business, you need a solution and a strong, aggressive tax resolution. Don't let the IRS walk all over you. Stop the IRS now. Call 888-930-1016 or go to taxationsolutions.net now for a free, no obligation consultation. Let's get back to Tax Talk for you with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. Talking about saving money on taxes and, getting all the tax deductions and everything. And one of the reasons is really important. And, going along with your business entities and using them as a tax strategy is because of the self-employment taxes. Let's be honest, at 15.3%, right off the top of what your net income is on Schedule C, could be very costly. I mean, think about this. You're paying both halves when you're self-employed. So you pay your half and you pay what, if you were a W-2 employee, the employer's half. And so that's why we get to that 15.3%. It's 12.4% for Social Security and 2.9% for Medicare. Now, where does that stop? It doesn't just stop at 50,000 or 100,000. Matter of fact, that 12.4% for Social Security is going to go all the way up to $174,900 before you don't pay it anymore. And, then you add to that the 2.9% for Medicare, and there's not a wage-based limit on the Medicare tax. Add another 2.9 for all the way up to that $174,900 and beyond. So if you're making $200,000 or $300,000, whether you're in the trucking business or self-employed, that becomes really expensive. Now remember, hey, we're talking about truckers because truckers are very valuable to our economy and getting the goods that we need, and even being able to provide services like we provide. Because, to be honest, the equipment we use was probably trucked in to one of the stores that we got it from. So truckers are providing us food, our clothing, all goods that we use. And I'm always thankful for the truckers. I'm always thankful for what they do here for us and everybody in the country. They do provide a good service, and they're way up from home. Ton of time. I mean, we all enjoy time with our family. You imagine being a trucker and being on the road and not having the time and then coming home and having to do bookkeeping or figure out your taxes. Hey, that's what Trucker Tax Tools is for. So give us a call at Trucker Tax Tools, get a free consultation, 877-996-2477. Again, 877-996-2477. Or go to truckertaxtools.com. We have great specials for truckers right now for bookkeeping. As low as $25. Can't beat it anywhere. So go to truckertaxtools.com. Now, using strategies to figure out what's going to be the best, using bookkeeping to get all the deductions that you should be having, because not only does it reduce your net income, but it reduces what you're going to be paying Social Security, Medicare for, and income taxes. And what we try to show you, and through bookkeeping, is taking money that you were spending after tax and making it pre-tax dollars. Because when you spend money pre-tax, it's a deduction before Social Security, Medicare, before federal income taxes. If you're spending money after tax, that is after you've paid Social Security on it, after you've paid your Medicare tax on it, after you've paid your income tax on it. And so basically, you lose every time you spend after-tax dollars that could have been pre-tax dollars. I mean, think about that. Think about that. You lose every time you spend after-tax dollars that could have been pre-tax dollars. I mean, that is so true. And that's why we talk about tax planning. We tell people to read your contracts, read your agreements before you sign them. We, unfortunately, read the tax code and make changes to our plans and make the plans that work for you. It's interesting when you read tax plans, because I think politicians are all lawyers or have some kind of legal degree or something out there, because they're not written for everyday Americans. They're written to benefit somebody somewhere all the time. Some politicians have never met a tax they don't like. They feel like it's their money once they get it. You saw what Doge has been doing, and Musk and Trump and all these guys have been finding all this money that is spent for ridiculous things and stupid things. And sometimes you got to put some sense into it. We look at some of these tax codes and we read some of these things and we go, some politicians probably have never read what they voted for. Some underling read it and said, yeah, that looks good. It is not necessarily good. Everyone is also good when the tax is on someone else. And then when they reach that level, they complain. Most celebrities are great at discussing taxes and wanting increases, but they don't really want to pay more themselves. That's why they do tax planning. If they really wanted to pay more, they could just write a check and not increase taxes. They could actually just not take the deductions and pay the extra tax. But they all have a tax plan. They all have somebody helping them plan for saving money on taxes. And that's what you should be doing as well, so that you're not losing by spending money that's after tax that could have been pre-tax. Now, we have addressed before business entities and how to use entities in taxes. Go back and listen to one of our podcasts, Tax Talk for You. You can find the one on business entities, S Corps, multi-member LLCs, and make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode of Tax Talk for you. You know, some of the reasons people have given me that they don't want to do tax planning is they're paranoid about audits, paranoid about the IRS. So, don't need to be paranoid about it. Take the deductions that are rightfully yours, that is going to save you the money, so that you are using every deduction possible. I mean, when you look at audit rates, if you're making less than, 25,000, it's, 0.4%. 25,000 to 200,000, it's 0.17. 200,000 to 500,000, it's 0.17. You start moving into 500,000 to a million, and you're at 0.53. A million to 5 million, you're at 1%, or 5 million and more, you're at 2.35%. But if you're getting earned income credit, you actually have an audit rate of about 0.77. So, audit paranoia shouldn't be a thing that triggers you from taking every legal deduction allowed by law. When we look at the examinations and compliance activities of the IRS, very small percentage is field examinations. A lot of them are correspondence examinations. Much more of them are automatic under-reporter. So you didn't report items that you should have had, maybe 1099, maybe W-2. Or, hey, the one thing they're looking at now is maybe you've had a little side business out there and you got a 1099-K, which was from merchant transactions. And they're now looking at those and saying, hey, you didn't report a business out there. You get people that didn't file, you're going to get a substitute for return. And then math error notices. Now, I don't know how those are possible if everybody's using computer software. Maybe you transpose a number, but I would assume that would have went into automatic under-reporter or over-reporter. But sometimes math, if you're filling it out by hand and still sending it in, yeah, maybe it could be. But those are the things that, we look out for. So what should you be doing right now? What you should be doing right now is tax planning, bookkeeping, looking at every transaction that you do so that you can report it correctly on your Schedule C or on your business return, whichever the case may be. You want to go through and find every little deduction you can have in your trucking business. Why pay something after tax when you can pay it pre-tax and save money? Not just Social Security, Medicare, federal income tax. Now we're going to talk about deductions, those bookkeeping deductions that you can look for right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for you. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Trucker Tax Tools handles all your bookkeeping and taxes no matter what level trucker you are. Life on the road can be taxing, but that doesn't mean that your wallet or time with your family should suffer. Trucker Tax Tools makes your life run smoothly. Go to truckertaxtools.com for a free guide that will give you the tools to never worry about your taxes again. Call Trucker Tax Tools at 877-966-2477 or go to truckertaxtools.com now and let the experts keep you trucking. Let's get back to Tax Talk for you with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking about taxes, trucker bookkeeping, trucker taxes, small business taxes. Basically, what we're trying to do is help people plan. plan to save money on their taxes. And what do we talk about is you lose every time you spend after-tax dollars that could have been pre-tax. And keeping to that, we talk about some of the reasons people get in trouble and cost themselves money. But first, hey, Kelsey, great question. Did the 1040 SR replace the 1040 EZ or the 1040A? 1040 SR is the senior's return. So basically it's somebody that's older. So it comes out as an SR. Just another version of that wonderful little postcard that, they said we were going to have. And, we don't. I mean, if they would have had their way of postcard, it would have said, how much did you make? Send it in. That would have been the quickest and easiest postcard. And then we'll send you back what you think you need to live on. That's our joke for the day. But anyway, we're talking about things that cost truckers money, and we see this every day. And we're going to talk about all the deductions that you can get, but what costs you money is bad or no bookkeeping. Missing deductible business expenses, incomplete bookkeeping, not reading your settlement statements, bookkeeping that is done by those that don't know anything about trucking, or bookkeeping done by those who only care about their own bottom line and not yours, or not finding a way to save you money. We tell you to keep it simple. Save every receipt. Even if somebody else is doing bookkeeping, set up a folder. Open a separate checking account that's just for business. Use a separate credit card just for business. Save your logbooks, your copy of your ELD. Get a notebook to carry with you and put it with your receipt envelope. Loans, read your loan agreements. Make sure you know what you're signing. Equipment purchases, save that purchase order. Make sure that when your taxes are done, they're recording the full value of that truck, and save your records. We're talking about keeping it simple. And, you can use a service like Trucker Tax Tools. Go to truckertaxtools.com. Got some great low rates for you for bookkeeping. Love to have you join us and be a member of our group of truckers that are out there. But when you're sitting down and looking at things that may not seem significant, but again, if you don't get the deduction the right way, you're spending after-tax dollars that could have been pre-tax dollars. I mean, we've seen people miss really simple items, like your association dues. Those are a business expense. The fees you pay on your bank account. Your cell phone or internet plans. Yeah, we've got to look at, on the cell phones, what's business and what's personal. But once you get past that hurdle, you can take a percentage of your cell phone plan or your internet plan to apply it to the business. Hey, you purchase a coffee pot. Doesn't have to be an expensive one. Maybe it was $50 or $100. Well, 15% on $100 is still $15. That's money in your pocket. So take the tax deduction. Certifications. You pay to get certified. Maybe hazmat certification. Make sure you're taking that deduction. Hey, you bought a calculator. That is a deduction. Cleaning supplies. You're using them in the truck. You're using to clean up after yourself. You're using them to keep the truck interior, exterior clean. Those are a deduction. Chains don't seem like a big deal, but they are. You had to have chains, and your truck's required to have them. It's a business expense. Envelopes. Something as simple as envelopes or staples. Those are all deductible items for you in your business. Now, You're paying fees for your tax services, your bookkeeping services, tax planning. Any of those are all tax deductible expenses for you and your business. Take the deduction. It saves you money. You know, you have a license, your business license, CDL license. The cost of that is deductible. A fire extinguisher. And I know this is kind of a fun one. Ice scraper. You know, any excise taxes, fuel tax, heavy highway tax, all of these are deductible. Hey, if you're using a GPS service and you're paying for it, you know, we've seen a lot of people that, you know, just because they're using their phone and it ends up being charged on a different credit card or a different bank account, their subscription to the apps that they use for their business, they miss the deductions for them. Find those deductions, use those. You know, what we kind of do is look at, you know, our clients' bookkeeping and say, hey, when we run this tax minimizer, it looks like you're missing this or you're missing that. Do you have these expenses somewhere else that you're paying for, maybe out of a personal account, and you didn't run it through the business? So maybe you bought a road atlas. You know, we always joke because, you know, GPS doesn't work everywhere. You know, in my truck, I've got a road atlas. If we were out in the middle of somewhere where we lost GPS service and we don't know the highways we're on or whatever, we have a road atlas we can pick up and we can look at it and figure out where we're at and where we need to go. Every trucker I've ever met has a road atlas. Did you deduct the expense? You should have. You shouldn't have missed that. You know, of course, you know, real simple one, fuel and your truck operating expenses, repairs and maintenance. You know, the fuel that you're putting in there. Maybe you have propane to run a stove as well, or other items that's out there. The DEF that you're buying. These are all somewhat easy deductions that you should know about because you're putting it into your truck. But some tax preparers don't know this, have no clue what DEF is. And, you know, so they miss that. Reefer fuel. Paper. Hey, maybe you have to print out things, invoices, you know, your printer, your pens, and again, envelopes and all your insurance. However, life insurance is not deductible. Health insurance is a whole different topic. So, you know, you've got to sit down and look at health insurance for self-employed. You're not going to deduct it in your Schedule C. You're going to deduct the self-employed health insurance. So it's not going to come off before Social Security and Medicare. Real big items that we see missed all the time is interest expense. I'm making a payment on my truck and they deduct the payment. They don't deduct the interest. They shouldn't be deducting the payment either because your payment is part principal, part interest, and only interest is deductible. Now you may be on an operating lease and then the whole lease is deductible. But if you're on a capital lease, then you're only going to get the interest and depreciation on the truck. Don't let somebody put mileage in on your tractor because you don't take mileage. You take actual expenses and depreciation because that is the right way of doing it and what you're supposed to be doing. You know, we talk about maintenance and repairs. Maintenance and repairs can be very sophisticated because you really got to look down and analyze those kind of expenses. You know, simple expenses like oil changes, minor repairs, those are really easy. You get into major repairs such as an engine replacement, transmission replacement, these become capitalized expenses. So they're going to be capitalized and depreciated over the useful life of the truck and the repair. So you've really got to break these repairs down into, what is ordinary, what is improvement of the vehicle. And those are the things that we've looked at as we're going through and doing the bookkeeping and the taxes for our clients so that we make sure we got everything right. We've got more expenses coming up that you should be looking for as an owner or operator, even as a small business owner. You got to find these expenses and make sure you move them from after tax to pre-tax dollars. And we're going to continue right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Stop spending time doing paperwork. Go to truckertaxtools.com, a solution built specifically for truckers. Truckertaxtools.com makes your life run smoothly. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking about truckers and taxes, saving you money right here on Tax Talk for You. Don't miss a single episode. Go to taxtalk4you.com and subscribe to our shows over there and get reminded of every show that's coming up so that we can help save you money on taxes every way possible. Hey, if you're a trucker, maybe you're a W-2 trucker and you're just thinking about getting out there on your own, or maybe you've been an owner-operator and you're thinking about expanding. One of the great seminars I tell everybody to go to is Truck to Success by OOIDA and the Foundation. It's coming up October 18th through the 23rd in Blue Springs, Missouri. They also, not only in person, but they also have it available for you online via Zoom if you can't make it up there to attend. Hey, I always tell people to come up and attend. I'm there. I go up for those days. And the reason I'm there is to be able to sit down with you, the owner-operator, in the evenings and, be able to talk. We sit and maybe we watch baseball playoffs and shoot the breeze and talk about trucking and talk about taxes, talk about bookkeeping. And man, the questions we get while we're there is so great that it keeps me coming back and speaking and contributing my time to OOIDA and the Foundation to be there to help you, the trucker, get off on the right foot. And maybe you've been in the trucking business and you're looking to expand. We met some really good friends out there that have been clients of ours for a very long time, and we continue to bring more on every single year at Truck to Success. And some of them don't decide they want to be an owner-operator. They would rather be a W-2 driver. Hey, that's great. That was still a valuable learning lesson by coming to Truck to Success. Myself and the people with OOIDA Foundation and OOIDA that are there speaking are the experts in this business, and try to bring as much information to you as possible to get you started and going and continue going down the right path. Again, we were talking about expenses. We're always looking for the little things like, hey, the DOT medical exams, deductible. Safety gear you're buying for the truck, whether it's safety shoes, whatever it may be, the vest, these are all deductible things. Your satellite radio or even satellite TV subscriptions, those are deductible. Most subscriptions that you use in the truck, apps or whatever, are deductible. All your tolls and your parking. Hey, truck parking is a big deal these days, and we're working with a couple of truck parking lots to get affiliated with us and them so that we can help, bring in, finding more places to be able to park while you're out there on the road that, will get you into a safe area. But that's a whole nother big discussion, is truck parking. I know OIDA has been fighting for more and more truck parking nationwide, and fighting with Congress to support truckers. The tools you use, whether it's tools for repairing the truck, tools while you're on the road, these are all deductible. Travel expenses. Hey, sometimes you break down and you got to fly back. Sometimes maybe you're going to go have a corporate meeting. Hey, these travel expenses are deductible. Uniforms, education, postage, and scale fees are all deductible. What you're really looking for is ordinary expenses. What the IRS says is ordinary and necessary or required in the operation of your truck. So, that is things that they're looking for. Now, we promised to talk a little bit more about, maintenance and repairs and what is improvement. Betterment of the unit, restores the unit, adapts the unit to a new or different use. These are all considered improvements and capitalized costs of improving your tractor or truck. There are some de minimis safe harbor rules and everything else out there that we look at to allow you to deduct more in the current year without having to do depreciation on those things, without having to capitalize them. You want to make sure that whoever you're using, you are finding every deduction in ways to be able to deduct those expenses and keep them from being capitalized, including going through and breaking down maybe what major repairs were done and what is not considered a major repair if you had it all done at the same time. The things that we see that are most overlooked, we went through all these deductions, but a lot of them are personal supplies. Now, not all personal supplies are considered tax deductible. And in order for a personal supply to be considered tax deductible, they have to be ordinary and necessary for operating your business. And a few examples might be like uniforms, gloves, motel, boots, showers. Those are the things that, we've got to look at and make sure that you're getting those deductions. Other things, communications like CB radios or a cell phone or the internet or radio or even phone cards. If you don't have a cell phone and you're calling home, phone cards aren't as prevalent anymore out there because most everybody's got a cell phone and they can use them anywhere. What you do got to keep in mind with communication and these kind of devices is they need to be strictly used for business or they're not 100% deductible. So like a cell phone, you might have to identify how much of the cell phone for business and how much of it you use for personal. And hey, if your wife works in the business with you or your husband works in the business with you, hard to say what's business and what's not business because I'm pretty sure you sit down and talk all the time with your significant other that's helping you in the business. Another thing that's missed is meals and entertainment. I talk about travel meals on the road. We're talking about bona fide business meals with clients, prospects, referral sources, business colleagues, your significant other, husband, wife, whatever it may be. Sorry about that. These are 50% deductible. And so you want to make sure you're getting those deductions where it applies. Don't miss them. The one thing that you're going to need to keep track of is how much, when, where, your business purpose, and what the business relationship is. Keep those receipts, especially if it's over $75, because you got to keep documentation. And even if you do it on the credit card form, your credit card statements, you can document there This was a business meal with whoever it was with for whatever it was. Um, it keeps you on the straight and narrow, and it keeps the support that you need to get these deductions. Now, when you're not using a preparer that knows truckers, the biggest item missed is per diems. Huge savings. IRS publication 463, travel, entertainment, gift, and car expenses allows for standard meal and incidental expense deductions for those in the transportation industry. You either have to save all receipts for meals and incidental expenses and deduct those at tax time, or you're going to take the IRS's standard meal allowance, which is currently $80. That increased October 1, 2024. We'll hopefully look for another increase this October in 25, but I don't foresee it with inflation being down. So the big thing with per diems, it is for each night you're on the road away from home. So, you're going to get $80 for every night you're on the way, except for the first and last. First and last nights only count half days. So you get $40 for the first day, $40 for last day, $80 for every day in between. One of the best ways of keeping track of it is using your ELD. Another one is just using a paper log that logs the days that you're on the road so that you know which days are which, and that you can document that you've got the right number of days per diem. Now, only 80% of that is deductible. So, for every $80, you're only going to get $64 of deduction. But if you've been on the road for 200 days, that's quite a deduction, quite a savings. Now, if you're a W-2 driver, you don't get deduction for per diems. The 2017 Trump tax code got rid of Form 2106. You cannot deduct per diems as a W-2 driver. But as an owner-operator, self-employed, you are going to get the deductions for per diems. Now, the IRS has some strict standards for the transportation industry. Of course, you got to be employed in the transportation industry, and your job must keep you away from home on a regular basis, long enough for you to sleep away from home. And get this, it must directly involve moving goods or people by truck, train, bus, ship, or airplane, or barge. Hey, isn't that nice to have that in the tax code? And the biggest deal also, you must have a tax home. To qualify for a tax home, you're required to incur expenses to maintain the home while you're on the road. So if you don't have an apartment or house or something you're paying expenses for, your tractor or truck is considered to be your tax home, and you're now in what they call a tax turtle, and therefore you're never away from home. And you don't get per diems. So you got to remember, you do have to have a home. These things are important. They're important to you as an owner-operator. They're important to you as a business owner. They're important to save yourself money. And remember, it's all about tax planning. It's the key to your financial defense. It guarantees success in saving you money on taxes. So if you haven't started planning, start planning today for 2025, saving money so that you have more money in your pocket and less going to the government. Hey, running short on time here. Go to taxtalk4u.com and hit subscribe. So you never miss an episode. Go to truckertaxtools.com. Let's get you some trucker bookkeeping at a very low cost. Don't miss that one. Join us today. See us every week right here on W4CY Radio and also at taxtalk4u.com, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you. God bless. Have a glorious week. See you next week.
Are you an individual or business that wants to understand taxes and how they affect you? Are you looking for specific tax advice for self-employed, business owners, and truckers? Are you behind on taxes and your bookkeeping? Are you dealing with the IRS and ready to have some relief? Then you need Tax Talk for You, hosted by tax and trucker expert Barry G. Fowler, EA. Tune in 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Monday right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Don't forget to check this and past episodes at taxtalk4u.com. See you next week at W4CY.com.